Pokemon's had no shortage of creative designs based on real-world stuff, but some of my favorites are the ones where you look at them and you don't quite know what they're based on. They don't look like any one recognizable thing, they just keep you guessing. The stuff that's truly original. Simply put, the Pokemon that put the monster in Pocket Monster. That's what we're taking a look at today, and I'm letting you know right now, most of these are from Gen 1, cause that's when these designs were in full force. So now, without further ado, I give you my top 10 monster designs in Pokemon. Enjoy, everybody! People say the Abra family has ties to foxes and goats due to their backgrounds in magic, but no matter how hard I squint, I still don't see it. Pretty sure this is what a fox looks like in Pokemon. Each one of these things has more in common with human mystics than they do any kind of animal. Abra with a man named Edgar Casey who would go into a trance in the same pose as Abra, Kadabra with the one guy we do not talk about, and Alakazam with Harry Houdini. Going back to Kadabra real quick, I'm still scratching my head over how it has this huge tail that just disappears when it evolves. No explanation has ever come forth, just poof, gone. Almost like magic, ooh. They also have a body structure I can only describe as something akin to a bug's exoskeleton. And what's with the talons on Abra's feet? I don't know what they'd be used for, but I wouldn't want to get close enough to find out, even with a measly 20 attack stat. All jokes aside, these guys capture the more unsettling side of being a strange psychic creature. I've always questioned Machop more than its evolved forms when wondering what it is. Machoke and Machamp are a bit more humanoid, and I always saw Machop as this weird little muscular reptile man. It's got those 3 dinosaur plates on its head, but I think it's mainly the tail. It never gets mentioned anywhere in any of its Pokédex entries, the tail is never used for attacking, it's just kinda there, and I find that really interesting. It loses that tail after it evolves too, which I guess is for the best, cause it'd probably look off-putting on anything else. When put up against more modern Pokemon of its size, Machop is a bit of a relic, but I still think it's cool all the same. The one thing I never understood were the rib markings. I think they're supposed to be muscles, but I always saw them as visible ribs. That'd make no sense for a muscle Pokemon, now would it? The Hitmons are all pretty interesting in their designs, but I gotta give this one to Hitmonlee. It's the only one of the 3 that doesn't have a mouth. Heck, I don't even think it's got a proper upper body. To this day, I look at it and say, what even are you? You're named after famous martial artists in English and Japanese, but I don't even see that reflected in your design. You're a whole different beast entirely. To me, it always looked like its eyes were sunk inside its body, which made me think the outside of Hitmonlee was a big outer shell, hiding something possibly even freakier. It's also got those 3 little alien fingers, and I can't forget those legs. The few times we see those things extend, what kind of body structure must it have? What is this thing? As creepy as it is, I've always favored it over Hitmonchan when given the choice, even though I do appreciate Hitmonchan's versatility. Hitmonlee just grabs me a lot more. He's just so weird, and that's so cool. I've always liked the Slowpoke line because I could never tell what they could be. Slowbro's classified as the hermit crab Pokemon, but that really only applies to the Shelder. The actual Pokemon is just perplexing. I've heard it has origins in pink hippos and salamanders, but also in the yokai Sazaioni. That I can get behind. I remember back when I used to watch Digimon and the character Shellmon showed up. I always said, hey, that thing looks like Slowbro. And later I learned it is in fact based on the Sazaioni, but I think these guys are a bit more original monster with different things sprinkled in. Whatever the case, I like how simple and huggable they all look. Basically the same Pokemon with slight alterations. I also like how in early depictions, Slowpoke had a white underbelly like its evolutions do. Made it more believable they really were just Slowpoke all along, as long as you ignore the new extra digits on its hands and feet. The only Pokemon on this list outside of Gen 1 are part of a dying breed of the monster design. The Whismur family is something I look at, and while the sound influence is loud and clear, I see no animal origin whatsoever. Bulbapedia says Whismur looks like a stuffed animal, but even that's too vague, and I've never seen anything that looks like Loudred and Exploud. They're just big old sound monsters, and I've always thought they looked unique. Loudred was one of the first Gen 3 Pokemon I ever saw in the Pikachu short Gotta Dance, and he made a great impression for the rest of the region. And Exploud is one of my brother's favorite Pokemon, and I can definitely see/hear why. I really want to see more Pokemon like this in the future. There's just not enough to appreciate as I'd like. Yep, you knew this one was coming. I can't pinpoint any one origin of a creature and say, yeah, this is the real-world equivalent to the Nidoran family. They're a mishmash of stuff, with elements of mammals and reptiles. The most common one I hear is rabbits, but I'll tell you, I've never known a rabbit that could inject me with lethal poison with the giant horn protruding out of its head. Maybe I just need to get out more. My favorite of them all is Nidorino, because it's got all the elements of what I like in old Pokemon designs, feeling so classic. It's one of the first Pokemon ever thought up, one of the first people laid their eyes on, and whenever I see it, I gotta give it the respect it deserves and say, now that is a bona fide monster. And have you heard this thing in the anime? Whoa, listen to that thing! Nidoqueen also had fangs in earlier depictions, which made it look even scarier. I honestly miss those fangs. I think all the Nido designs are just perfect, save for the fact that Nidoking and Queen are only 4 feet tall, but I can look past that. The early days of Gen 1 tended to take an animal as a base and then monsterize it. Like, yeah, here's a kangaroo, and here's what a kangaroo in Pokemon looks like. A giant armor-plated beast that looks more dinosaur than mammal. If this thing didn't have a pouch, I'd be hard-pressed to say it was ever based on a kangaroo. The thing can learn outrage leveling up, for goodness sakes. But underneath that terrifying exterior beats the heart of a loving parent. This design is 2 for the price of 1. The baby's much more simple in design compared to the mother, plus its eyes and color scheme are completely different. I found it so odd that Kangaskhan never had a proper evolution from child to adult and always wondered what the process would look like. Thankfully, Mega Kangaskhan helped fill in those gaps after years of speculating. Another design that's classic in every way. Ever since I was a kid, I remember saying to my friends and brother, what exactly is Snorlax? Some sources say he's the poke equivalent of a hibernating bear, and I could kinda see that, but he doesn't really look all that bear-like, especially not after they introduced Teddiursa and Ursaring a generation later. He may not look the part, but the origin is there, and that's what I like, taking an animal concept and molding it into an original creature. I also love those spiky feet and claws of his. They're an early design element that you don't see as much these days that I adore for some reason. Snorlax is just a fun, cuddly design. And did I forget to mention it also takes inspiration from one of the series' programmers, Koji Nishino? According to legend, the man once ate moldy food from the office fridge, earning him the nickname Kabigon, Snorlax's Japanese name, and the word Kabi being Japanese for mold. Snorlax is also known for eating moldy food, and I mean, just look at their eyes! That is such a fun thing to do! And now we get to the Pokemon that everyone was waiting for. Rhyhorn's got ties to rhinos, but I honestly forget that sometimes because he's also very dinosaur-like. It's smooth in some areas, spiky in others, looking cool all around. And are those ear holes? I swear I never noticed that until recently. He's one of those Pokemon I always wanted to draw as a kid, but I never knew where to start. And yes, he always did remind me of a stapler remover. Now on to Rhydon, the first Pokemon ever designed. This is the one that sparked the idea for this list. This is the one that inspired all the nondescript statues all over Gen 1 and 2, one of the most iconic sprite icons, the Substitute Doll. This is the Pokemon that everyone agrees on being the most Pokemon-looking Pokemon. It's got the little claws, big fangs, and the whole mammal dinosaur motif going on. Its design displays such awesome power too. Whenever Rhydon showed up in the show or games, I was always like, uh-oh, that's not good. It actually looks like it could take a single water or grass move and not die in one hit. And for that reason, I've never used it or Rhyhorn, but I still love them so much. Game Freak knew what it was doing making these two version exclusives. They're so cool you can't not have both. A lot of people immediately say Magmar's a duck. I don't mean to rain on their parade, but Magmar's bill is the only duck-related thing going on in its ensemble. Golduck is a duck monster too, but it evolves from an obvious duck and has webbed hands and feet. Magmar does not fit the bill, so to speak. But you see, Magmar's one of my favorites because everything about its design is just killer. Leg braces, flame tail, the eyes, everything. First time I saw it was in the anime and I remember going, whoa, what is that? that! Pretty much all that applies to Electabuzz, though it had me guessing more. It looks like a gorilla, tiger thing, but it's likely based on an Oni, which is basically just a monster, so like I said, he's just a monster. Even when these two got evolutions, I still prefer using their base forms because they're not as cool as what came before. Electivire came out alright, but I'll take a cool design over being able to use Solar Beam any day. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed what you saw. Now what Pokemon out there do you think has a cool monster design? I'm sure I missed a few, so leave a comment down below. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a like, share it with a friend, subscribe, check out all my social media links and pages, all that good stuff. And if you'd like to support me further, well, I've got a Patreon page and everything you need to know about it is in a link in the description. And with all that said, I'll catch you guys next time for another installment in this month of Pokemon. Catch you later!